Hey guys, we've got a tasty new rumor with the U.S. International, a couple new signings, and a plethora of transfer news. All that coming up.
Welcome to the show, Five Stripe fam. I'm AJ. This is Tanner McLeod. Before we get into it, become part of the notification squad by hitting the bell next to the subscribe button. Amidst all the snow and ice this past weekend, Atlanta United have still been busy as hell. Their motto recently of Five Stripes Don't Stop has been the case this offseason. Now, we went to record this, and Jeff Larentowicz was announced as officially re-signed, and man, it's a really big piece of news because, you know, our rock in the midfield has returned.
I 100% agree. I think that, you know, some people might not think that it's a massive signing, so like a Barco type thing if that happened.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's an experienced, solid player who played fantastic last year. Depending on his contract details, how much they're paying, I mean, I think he's just a phenomenal player.
Right.
And, I mean, you can't really ask much more. And it's awesome because he didn't get picked in the expansion draft. Unlike, you know, we didn't have any players taken the expansion draft, which is fantastic.
Right.
And, you know, we had a couple of transactions where we traded around some picks and moved some players around in order to free up some roster space and some international spots. The Kenwyne Jones one being by far the most funny.
Yeah, definitely a head scratcher at first, but then it's you know, you kind of learned that Kansas City did something pretty wise. They needed an extra international spot, and with MLS rules, it's really kind of funky. You need one more to get an extra one, and so, you know, by way of getting a Kenwyne Jones who's not on the roster, they weren't planning on playing him, but they get to protect another player of theirs. So, you know, all in all, it works out for them. We get a couple of USL players.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all that they are. I mean, there's not much to them. You know, one of them may or may not be released anyway. But I mean, again, you're trying to build up that depth, and if you have some experienced players at the USL level, that's not going to hurt you.
Absolutely, for sure. And the two players added were Kevin Oliveira and Tyler Pasher. One's a midfielder, one's a defender. And we also get their natural second-round pick in the 2018 MLS Super Draft. And they get Kenwyne Jones, Tambakis, and our natural fourth-round pick in the 2021 MLS Super Draft. So
that's only, you know, like 3.5 years away.
A while. So it's probably very innocuous of a deal, but, you know, with USL teams and stuff like that, you know, getting a second-round pick is pretty good too.
I mean, speaking of deals, though, I mean, handshake deals, one might say, with LAFC.
Yes. So was the handshake deal done to save Yamil Assad, Jeff Larentowicz, Romario Williams, or none of them? What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, Assad's an interesting case. You don't know if he's going to be back or not.
Right.
I'm glad that they didn't pick him because he's not a player that I'd like to play against by any means.
Absolutely. That'd be heartbreaking, I think.
Yeah, Larentowicz is interesting because obviously announcing that we re-signed him today, so that could be something there.
Yeah.
Romario Williams, I don't know. He might not be, not good enough, but he might not be of a high enough caliber that they're looking at to take with one of those picks.
Possibly, right? Very true.
But, you know,
had an awesome season at Chelsea Battery.
He did really
scored
well.
about 15 goals or something like that.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like for them, is that where they want to go for their pick for the draft? Because if there's there was better unprotected players out there.
Yeah, because he's a 23-year-old, you know, in USL. Like that's, you know, I think they're looking for higher upside.
Yeah, I think they probably were looking for someone who already had the experience at an MLS level to take in that spot. But at the same time, I definitely think that it didn't hurt United in any way. I thought it was smart. Again, you know.
So that's maybe where there was optics, where, you know, saving an Alec Can so that when, you know, you might have to bounce him back and forth from USL and, you know, being a backup to Brad Guzan, you know, it saves his confidence in himself. And, you know, since Romario Williams wasn't part of the MLS club to begin with, he was just part of the depth, you know, it didn't really hurt his feelings anyway.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if anything, honestly, it might really have been for Larentowicz. If it was any player, it looks like it could have been him because, again, you re-sign him today right after it happens. Right. He's an experienced player. He's played in, you know, he's a California boy.
Right.
I think
attracted to that team.
I mean, that's an attractive player. He's experienced. He's got everything you need from a midfield guy that you look. And honestly, I mean, he's a player that you could make captain of a team like that.
Exactly.
So, you know,
yes, he's 34, and some, you know, there's some detractors saying, you know, he might be too old and stuff like that. But, you know, for a team that is, you know, admitting like that they're wanting to go after the MLS Cup, you know, this is a big move. Like, he's a good player.
Yeah, so. I mean, I think that. I mean, hopefully they're not as good at it, but I think that LAFC is definitely following the Seattle and the Atlanta model of trying to be competitive from day one.
Right.
And so they've done that. They found a big name coach in Bob Bradley. Yeah. Whether you like him or not, that's your own opinion. But, you know, they feel confident that he's the right guy to take him forward with his experience. They're trying to build the right way. And so, you know, he'd be definitely a player. Atlanta did it, so why would they not want to do it? So
True.
I think that if anything, it probably might have been to protect Larentowicz. And
definitely.
I'm all about that.
Absolutely. In our weekly Barco Watch, we're all waiting on the Copa Sudamericana to end. Independiente versus Libertad. Hopefully, Ezequiel Barco and Independiente win it. But that's when we'll find out if we have Barco or not. And their head coach, Ariel Holland, he said, Barco's a very difficult player to replace. It hurts, but Independiente needs to sell 2 to 3 players to be healthy again economically. I think if the coach says that, I mean, it's very, very likely that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's something that we're all waiting for. We all feel like it's going to happen. I mean, people really believe in their guts that it's going to happen. Yeah. He had a very good game last week in the final.
That cross with his left.
It was sweet. I can only imagine what it would look like with him putting that with Joseph Martinez on the end of it. But you know, it's exciting. I'm ready for it. I'm sick of talking about it. I want to sit here and tell you we've signed him. It's done.
Right.
But, you know, I mean, it's just going to keep getting teased out and teased out and teased out until it happens. But, you know, I feel like we're getting closer.
Right.
And I think you and I both feel that as soon as that's over, it's going to come out within a few days saying Atlanta signed Ezequiel Barco. Just because that's how Atlanta's been doing their business this offseason. I mean, they've been so concise, so active, and they get it done quickly. They know what they want, and they're getting it done. And I love that from the club. And I've said that multiple times, how much I love just the precision with how quickly they move on things.
Exactly. They're not wasting any time this offseason, and especially, with players of this quality. Like, we've spoken almost ad nauseum about them, but, you know, I think, you know, next year, not enough will be said with if, you know, we actually do get them.
Yeah.
That will be amazing. And Franco Escobar was officially announced as a 5-stripe, as we reported earlier this week. And another important piece of this transfer was clarified. USL Atlanta was granted purchase options of 50% of Gaston Cardozo and 25% on Brian Gambarte, both of Newell's Old Boys. And it's valid until January 31st, 2020, as part of a $1 million fee for Escobar. So it's more USL options for us if we decide to pull the trigger on them. Are we happy we picked up Franco Escobar finally?
Yeah, I'm glad it's a done deal. I think he could solve your right back issue right now. Yeah. But I also think he's a long-term solution to Michael Parkhurst, potentially. Right. You know, very similar players, ball-playing center halves. Right. So, you know, it's simple. We've talked about him a lot already. I'm glad it's done. Again, with the team getting the business done early and done quickly. You know, there's not much else to say about it, but I'm excited to see him in a 5-stripe shirt playing for us, lining up next season. Just another signing, another reason to be excited for 2018.
Exactly.
But I mean, you know, speaking on South America, we had another rumor come up this week. Carlos Carmona linked with a return to Chile and Colo Colo. I mean, I personally, I throw water on that right away. My belief is if we protected him in the draft, why would we immediately turn around and get rid of him? I mean, maybe financially to free up some space, but I don't feel that that's a rumor that should even be entertained. I don't mean to be so negative on it, but I just feel like he was such an important and very underrated player last season.
Right.
I can't see why we would protect him, waste that spot, and then let him go.
And I don't think we can replace his production in the team at the moment either. I mean, he's got that connection and link between our defense and our forwards, but he can speak with all the players, you know, essentially. That's very important. The fact that, you know, he's just a bulldog in the midfield, you know, breaking up plays. You know, if we play with a lone defensive midfielder, he's probably our guy. Like, I don't know if Larentowicz as our lone midfielder is probably the best bet, but with Carmona, I'd be very, very comfortable. And, you know, as a 30-year-old, he's still in his prime, so, you know, I think...
I don't see why he would go back to Chile yet. I mean, maybe if you wanted another season when he's a few more years older, but why now? Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense for him in his career, for Atlanta. I just don't see why that would be a logical move for either party.
Right. So, yeah, we're going to throw a thumbs down on this rumor. It's probably very unlikely. But, you know, people just like to whisper, you know, things about players when they have a good year. So
Absolutely.
That's what happens.
And to keep the South American rumor train going, Atlanta United have been linked to a 20-year-old left back by the name of Jose Hernandez.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? I mean, there's not much about him. He did well at the U20 World Cup for Venezuela. Atlanta United has done well with Venezuelans so far. See Joseph Martinez.
Yeah, definitely.
Not a lot on him.
He's yeah, he seems like a guy who has got a lot of potential as a left back. Seems like he has a good cross on him from the videos that I've seen. And I think he's a USL depth piece. And so he probably would get the bulk of the starts at USL. And, you know, taking over for, you know, maybe George Bello, who, you know, probably was in line to probably get more of that. But I think he gets more seasoning, and maybe, you know, if they split the time there, you know, it bodes well for both of them. And, you know, maybe he's groomed as a Garza replacement in the future. So, you know, it's a good depth piece.
Yeah, I mean, again, but there's it's not much on. I mean, you've seen he did well at the U20 World Cup, but that's not much to really go off of.
For sure. And with our big juicy rumor at the end of this show, we have Darlington Nagbe, midfielder of Portland Timbers, U.S. international. He might be coming, according to a lot of sources that are very credible. ESPN reports that in exchange for Nagbe, Portland will receive $750,000 in general allocation money, $300,000 in targeted allocation money, and an additional $500,000 to $600,000 in incentive-based compensation. The deal will be the largest between MLS teams in the league's history, overtaking a record $900,000 base deal that Orlando City paid Sporting Kansas City for Dom Dwyer in July. That deal could reach as much as $1.6 million with performance incentives. So reports said that he recently asked for a raise that would see his salary top $1 million. He originally was making $500,000, and Portland balked, and that was the catalyst for exploring this deal. Do you think he's gonna come?
I want him so bad. I rate him. I think he's a fantastic player. I mean, I think he might be one of the best passers of the ball, if not the just straight up best passer of the ball in MLS. I mean, he is that perfect link between attack and defense. Right. He is the number 8 everyone wants.
Yeah.
I get people want to play Miggy at the 8. Never going to happen. Nagbe, if you sign him, there's your 8 for as long as you can afford him.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is just a phenomenal... 92% of his passes he completed last year in MLS. I mean, that's incredible. Defensively, he's not fantastic, but you have Carmona for that. You have Larentowicz for that.
He's a box-to-box. You know, that'd be his role on our team. And Dan Gargan tweeted out, like, he's a guy that can't be, you know, you can't get him off the ball, essentially, and he can make any type of pass. I think that speaks volumes of what we need, and he's a dribbler as well, like, you know, against the likes of, like, a DC United who just bunker down, park the bus. You know, we need players like this and Barco to dribble and beat a player off the dribble and, you know, break down a team.
Absolutely. I mean, he's that player that if possession gets stale in that final third and you need to back it out and recycle it, he's the perfect player, because between midfield and the 18, there's not many players that are better than him in MLS, in my opinion. I mean, he's just fantastic on the ball. He can pick his passes. When he picks them, they usually go to where he wants them to go. And there's so many talented players in front of him that... With MLS gives you an assist if you assist the assist, one might say.
Exactly. You get the pre-assist.
His numbers will go up so much playing in this Atlanta United attack, because there's so many talented players that sometimes just need that supply. And that frees Almiron up as well to make more runs, to pull more defenders out of position, because he knows that he doesn't have to be the one to make that pass. And I think what you'll see a lot as well is that when Atlanta United win the ball back, it will enable Almiron to already be further forward. So a lot of the time this past season, Almiron was going to try to be that first guy to get that ball, but he was a little bit deeper.
He had to come and get it. And
he's not going to have to. If you get a player like Nagbe, he's going to be that first pass. And then once he gets the ball, he can just pick that pass to the wings, to Almiron, even all the way up top to you know, Joseph. I think he's a phenomenal player. I have no idea how a player like this comes available. But to sign him would just make me so... I mean, I had my hopes already were being, you know, just quenched by this team. Barco, Escobar, re-signing, you know, Larentowicz. But to do something like this would just be the cherry on top of an already tasty cake.
Absolutely.
And it just shows they know what they want.
So where do we see him playing, you know, with having learned that Jeff Larentowicz has re-signed? we have a embarrassment of riches. It's definitely a good thing, but do we play Larentowicz at the 6 and then Darlington Nagbe at the 8, or do we play Carmona and Larentowicz?
I think it gives you options. Nagbe? I think it gives you a lot of options. I mean, at home, I think obviously you're going to play the 4-2-3-1. It's more attacking. It gives you more options. It gives you more depth, which I think was definitely a problem last year for Atlanta United, is that we were very thin in midfield. I don't think Larentowicz will play as many minutes at all as he did this season, but he also can give you that cover at center back. So if you have a player like LGP suspended, you drop him back there, and you already have quality in midfield, so you don't have to worry about starting a player up there that might have some question marks. I think it also really helps come playoff time when you're playing away from home. I personally love the 4-3-3. It's a little bit more defensive than a 4-2-3-1. If you play a 3-man midfield of Carmona, Nagbe, and Larentowicz, that is a very solid base to go off of.
And then Miggy, I assume, would be on left or right? Or
I'd have Miggy on the left or the right. You could have him tuck in and then kind of come into that natural number 10, because with how Atlanta United plays with the fullbacks overlapping. And then you'd still have Nagbe going forward. But you'd also have Carmona and Larentowicz giving you that base, that defense there. So you still have very, very good attacking players going forward, but you have that cover at the back. So even if you lose the ball, teams aren't going to be able to break as quickly on you, because you'll still have 4 or 5 players behind the ball at all times. So I love it. I can't speak enough to it. It's not a done deal yet. It still might not happen, but I would be so over the moon if this actually happened. I mean, when it comes to transfers, that's one that for me just blows my mind.
This would bring a lot of solidity and a lot of dynamic options to the team. So if it does happen, it's we just can't wait until 2018.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, if it happened, I would honestly, and this is not just me being biased, being a United supporter. I'm making Atlanta United favorites at that point for the cup, which is a big step when you look at it. That midfield would be better than Toronto. That attack is on par with Toronto, and I think with another season they can be better than Toronto, which is really that's the measuring point right now. I mean, they're the stick that everyone's trying to level up with. United are already getting better, and to add a player like that, I think the midfield will be better. I think the attack personally will get better. I honestly, you look at that team on paper, and it's just like, wow, how has this front office done this?
And to add on to where Nagbe came from, Portland Timbers, he by some accounts he's their second best player, and they were first in the West this year. So for us to nab their second best player, that speaks volumes. And on our team, he just would be, he's not counted as to be one of the main guys that you have to count on. He's one of the guys. That's amazing. So
I mean, he's already, like we said, a U.S. men's international. So he plays at a high level if he's being picked for the national team. And I think that he's already a good player. But he hasn't ever played on a team that has the attacking talent. No disrespect to Portland Timber. I mean, they have phenomenal players like Diego Valeri.
The MVP.
But when you have a whole front three plus fullbacks that are talented,
and
it's just
to play with Tata, who is probably going to really, I feel like, help him reach the potential that we all kind of see in him. So to be able to play with a revered coach, and I think it speaks on what Tata can do as well. Like, definitely, because Tata is coaching Atlanta United, he's brought Nagbe here if it does happen.
I mean, and I think the other thing is, one of his biggest knocks has always been his finishing, because he shoots and it doesn't go in a lot of the time. But you have to think of the situations that he's shooting in. When he had the goal of the season a few years back, he wasn't marked at all. He's got a good shot on him from distance. It's just, that's a hard shot to hit. It's a low percentage shot. Thinking about it, there's so many players that are going to draw defenders that he might even be able to improve that side of his game, because players are trying to stick to Almiron or stick to Villalba or stick to Martinez, that he's going to get more space outside the 18 where he can unleash that shot. So I'm just, again, you can probably tell, I'm extraordinarily excited. I would love for this to be the case. just Atlanta United, just I can't just get
they're
over what they're
blowing
doing.
our minds, and yeah, you know, 2018 just cannot get here sooner.
That is absolutely the case.
And moving on to our new segment of the show where you guys ask us questions about Atlanta United, and we answer them in the following show. You can tweet at us, or you can leave your comments in the comments below using the hashtag 5StripeWeekly. On to our first question. Ricky Jimenez asks, what if Tata Martino signed Javier Mascherano? Wanted Barca defender Mascherano, who's keen to join a club where he's guaranteed playing time in order to play the World Cup, is offered return by his former club, River Plate. Barca asked $10 million, while they're willing to give $3 million. Would he be a fit for us?
I think he'd definitely be a fit, but I think the problem comes in he'd have to be a DP spot because he's going to demand the amount of money that a DP would due to his pedigree. I think he's still a very good player, especially for his age. It'd be a lovely signing, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him there. He'd be an upgrade on every defender that we have,
definitely.
Personally, in my opinion.
He's like a Jeff Larentowicz, but, you know,
a lot better.
Yeah.
Who's played in World Cups and won the Champions League and played for Barcelona for the past however many years. I think he'd be a phenomenal player. And again, I think that's the problem with that is I think that's an old school MLS signing where you bring in an older player who's still solid on high wages. I don't think that's the direction Atlanta United are looking to move in. If we were missing something and we needed something, then yes, maybe. But I think they're solid enough now. That's not where they want to invest their money.
Right. Exactly. And I think when you see the move today for Jeff Larentowicz, it's pretty much we've solidified what we need to do there. And I don't think we see, you know, this move happening. Yeah, I just don't think the money's there personally with MLS regulations. I think if it was available, it was an open cap, and we could just sign anyone. I think United would definitely be interested in signing a player like him. But I think with the financial restrictions placed on teams by MLS, I don't think we could afford a player like him in the side, which is unfortunate because again, he's a class player. But I think it comes down to more of not being able to afford him and less of him not being able to fit. True, very true. And moving on to our second question, Matt Daniels asks, with this signing of Franco Escobar, what position player do you think Atlanta United needs to get next? I think center back is fine now with Franco Bar as long as Robinson gets a little bit more playing time in USL, but is there anything else? Great content as always, keep it up. Thank you, Matt Daniels. Appreciate the question. And
the compliment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, with the move today for Jeff Larentowicz, it definitely, Miles Robinson is going to see a lot of time at our USL team. And hopefully, you know, he can make strides to become our center back of the future. In terms of what we need to get next, I mean, with this Nagbe rumor.
I think that pretty much bang on. I mean, you kind of ask a question and we get an answer literally the next week. I think that that's what we need is a player like Nagbe to play that number 8 role that everyone, you know, we see it all the time on social media. People keep asking about, well, who would play in the 8? I think that's the question, and there's your answer. And hopefully that answer proves to be true.
Yeah. And moving on to our last segment of the show, it's our question of the day. So, what do you think of the Nagbe rumors, and where do you see him fitting into the side? We all know how Tanner feels. You know, let's see how you feel in the comments below. So that's it for us today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Smash a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And for Tanner McLeod, I'm AJ. We'll see you in the next video.